Hello and welcome back to making a well in Maya. So far we've got the base and the roof done, so it's time to add the framework. To get started, we're just going to very quickly create a cube and simply move it into place, getting the center of it in the center pillar. Well, one of the center pillars anyway. Then once you've got it in place, you can scale it. I tend to scale it by the Z and X axis together. You could do all three, but we're going to increase the Y anyway. And just simply go backwards and forwards between increasing the Y scale until it's as close as you can without hitting the top, well, going above the roof. You may get a little space, but that'll be easily fixed later when we put the other frames in. Now that is all done, just simply duplicate the center pillar, and then we're going to rotate it by the X-axis, about 90 degrees. And again, moving it and scaling it into position. Now with this one, I don't want this to be as wide as the main one, so I'm just going to make it a smidge thinner along the Z-axis. Now I'm happy with that one. I'm going to duplicate that one to create the side pillars. And trying to get into the center position. And rotate it as close as you can, but the best way is to change it on the rotate X to 45 degrees. And then just simply moving it and scaling it into place. And of course this one, I want this one to be even thinner. So I'm just going to scale it inwards a little bit more. Then you may have guessed it, I'm also going to duplicate this one. And this time I'm going to change the minus on the Z translate, so they'll be perfectly in line with the other side, and change the minus on the rotate X. And there you go, we've got our pillars set in place. Now we just need to create the big frame on either side of the roof. So to do this, I'm going to duplicate the main roof and just pull it out. Going to modeling toolkit, I'm just going to select the faces and turn off symmetry if you've got it still on. And just select most of the frames just so we've got the one side. Now to get the pivot in place, I'm going to modify center pivot, and that will just put the pivot back in the center of the model. Using the front view, I'm just going to move it as close to the side of the roof as I can. And I'm just going to edit the vertices with symmetry turned on. So I'm just going to tweak this up and I'll sped up this process. Now that is complete and it's as close as guide as I can, I'm going to select the model and just extrude the faces, matching the side views. Now I'm going to duplicate that and just simply move it to the other side. Now I was going to make a few minor tweaks to the model. First of all, this center pillar, you've got the edges sticking out, so I'm just going to fix that up. I'm going to go to Modeling Toolkit and select the edges because I want to select the bottom edges and just pull them out. And with the symmetry turned on, it will apply it to both sides. Also noticing that the bottom of the roof is sticking out. Well, I need this a bit longer. It's okay. I prefer it to go inside so that if you render it, you don't see its any edges poking out. In doing so, I've noticed that the bottom of my frame is not matching, well, is not quite, it's poking out a bit. So I'm just going to tweak that as well. When tweaking, it's okay to take your time with things and just make sure that visually it looks good. And sometimes you may have to make some adjustments that weren't originally in the guide. This often happens working in 3D. So now I'm going to select these center pillars, and you may have guessed it, we're going to duplicate them. And just simply move them to the other side following the guide. And there we have our main structure for our well. This will be a good place to increment and save, and what that does, it creates a new file, well 0001. Very good if you want to go in stages, so highly recommended. Until next time, I'll see you later.